Cowork versus OpenClaw. Our experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
You're listening to AI WTF. And I know what you're all thinking, but it doesn't stand for what you're thinking. It stands for wisdom, tech, and friendship. And we have today Monty Hipsch and Wayne Buckler. Monty is based in Australia and I'm based in the Philippines. And we've been friends and we've been in tech for a long time. And we'd like to think we've got a little bit of wisdom, given that we've got lots of decades of experience in the tech world. We've been around for a good while. Monty, what experiences have you been having with your AI?
Right. Well, Wayne, as your introduction said, we talk almost on a daily basis, and we both remember the days when we unplugged the phone and plugged in our 33K modem to access the internet. So that kind of dates us. But since then, we've been doing things back and forth, and I sent you a document about a month ago about an installation guide for OpenClaw. And you were ahead of me on that one. You spent days and weeks configuring OpenClaw to get yourself an AI that you've given a name of Jake. And you were kind enough to provide me with a number of the prompts and the information that you used relative to how you wanted it to interact and the knowledge base and video creation and B-rolls and all this sort of stuff. And so I let you go down that OpenClaw track, and I waited till you got done, and it looked like I might have been able to achieve some of the same outcomes by using Cowork. And so I went down that path with all the experience and background that you had with OpenClaw to do it on with Cowork. And well, I think we both had challenges on both of our platforms.
Yeah, that's true. Since then, I have Jake, which is my OpenClaw installation running. I now have Ian, which is a Hermes installation running. And both of those run on the Mac Mini, and they do pretty much the same things. One watches the other. I also use, as you do, Claude Cowork, which is part of the Anthropic stable. And what I've found is that the biggest difference is in how they charge. So if you have Cowork installed as an app on your desktop, it charges on a subscription basis. And I think they start about $30 or so a month. And then it steps up to 5 times that, and you can step it up to another to 10 times that, and then you go to an enterprise level. But you get charged that, and it consumes that credit against that account. And I think those credits last a year or something. And so it really doesn't keep costing you unpredictable amounts of money. Whereas when you're in either Hermes or OpenClaw, you have to nominate what model they're going to connect to, and they can change models. But so I made Anthropic the primary model for Jake, and I made DeepSeek the primary model for Ian. And DeepSeek has cost me in a month well less than $10. I only put $10 worth of credit on it. And that was twice as much credit as I put on to Anthropic, because you get $5 worth of credit for free to start with. And he's cost me around about $40 a day for the month that I've had him running. And I'm in outsourcing, and I have to tell you, for less than that, I can hire a pretty good Filipino tech-trained person who can pretty much do everything that the AI is doing for me, with the assistance of another AI. So, if they're using AI on a desktop, it's going to cost maybe $20 a month for an expensive one, maybe free if you're using DeepSeek. But with that assistance, it can do everything that the AI can do based on getting fed by the AI. So yeah, it's been good and bad and ugly, as you said. What's been ugly for you?
Yeah, let's stay on the costing, Wayne. I suspect, well, not I suspect, I know both of us had, I believe you as well, but I had a paid account with OpenAI. Just their entry level one, I think it's $20 a month or something. And I built a couple of AI agents that I can use, and they're very successful, and they were fine. And that started back in, well, I started back in 2023, and then 24, 25, now in 26. I still have one of those agents working on OpenAI. And it's closed, so it only uses the knowledge base that I provided. It's not open to the internet, and it works well. And they're now adding more and more features so that you can speak to it with your voice and it'll answer in a voice. So there's some other features that are coming along. And I haven't really thought about transitioning that, but it was, and you'll have to explain some of the activities that Jake and Ian do for you. But it was your experience that got me into that. And I just had stumbled across Claude, Anthropic's model, and for generating scripts for videos. Yeah, that's 20 years behind you. That's okay. He can walk behind. I probably won't show up because it'll be on me. Anyway, I needed to create a lot of video scripts, and I already was using a tool which is called HeyGen, where I created an avatar with my voice, and so I needed scripts to create content, and I found that the Claude content and the Cowork Claude content was actually, and again, this is a personal feeling, it was better reasoned and more natural speaking than what I had with OpenAI. So I found that I stopped using OpenAI as much, and I started to use Claude more, Cowork, to generate scripts for my videos. And that worked spot on. I think the scripts were good. I did review all of them, and I read through them and made comments and changes in their instructions and in the prompting. But its research and the information it brought back to me was an improvement on OpenAI. Not that OpenAI was bad, it just didn't have quite the same level of depth and polish that I was getting from Claude.
Yeah, I've to go back into OpenAI and into that to start with. Yes, I still have a $20 account with them as well, and I use that as you do to do a chatbot. And good luck with finding something else to do that for you. I haven't been able to find anything else that does it anywhere near as well as OpenAI does with that ChatGPT private GPTs.
Yes.
They can be taught to use a restricted set of data, including only your documents. I use one of mine for information to support a marketing campaign I'm doing for outsourcing with anti-money laundering for Australian real estate agents, because it's coming in there. And I've told it to only access the government's AUSTRAC anti-money laundering website. So everything it's saying is coming straight off the government website. Now, this means that it's a free thing for my customers. If they've got questions, they could go to the AUSTRAC website, but it's a government website and it has frequently asked questions and you can search it. But having a chatbot makes it much easier to search it. So nothing else does that as well. Another one of mine that I use for my medical records it's private. It's only available to me. It's not available to anyone else.
Yep.
But I put in there all my pathology reports, all my prescriptions, all my everything else's. And having gone through the pain of doing that, and I'm not a young man anymore, so I get a lot of pathology reports. I can say to it, give me a graph of my blood pressure over the last 20 years. Plot, prostate size over the last 5 years, and so on and so forth. So when I go to a doctor, I'm better armed with my personal information than they are. They've got all that information, but do they read it every time I pop in? No. Do they have a graph of it to recognize when there are changes? No. So yes, I'm using that for my medical stuff. And again, I don't know of anything else that does that as well, that provides the privacy and doesn't try and give you information from all over the web and all the rest of it. And the third use I have for it, and it's one of the things that I want to talk about some more. I have put what I call a MOP, which is our Manual of Policy and Procedures. You can tell I was a compliance guy, and you can tell I worked for the government. So I put a PDF in there. It's like 25-page PDF, which was our Manual of Policy and Procedures. And I put it in there so that the staff, and I've only got 3 or 4 of them, are able to use a search engine to get through that MOP, because they don't want to read through it a long lot anyway. And if you've got any ISO qualifications, ISO 9001 or 27001 or anything, your staff having access to your policies and procedures is a critical part of passing your audits. And this, I've done that stuff for years and years. This is the easiest way I've ever found to say to your auditors, yes, the staff have access and it's up to date. And when they go to audit the staff and they say, can you tell me the policy for claiming petty cash? The staff just go, open up the GPT, go petty cash, and there it is. There's only one version. It's always the latest version. It's always up to date. It has links to all the records. Anyway, I found that too. So I haven't found any other AI that can do the job that those private GPTs do as well as that. But I will tell people about a CRM experience a bit later. So have you automated anything in your world yet, Monty?
Yes, I have. And I wanted to, you and I have talked every now and then about Julia McCoy, who has a company called First Movers, and I've watched her videos, and so I've done different things that she'd recommended. And she was talking about creating knowledge base and workflows. I really wanted to create a content engine that would allow me to generate content for distribution on my social media platforms. So I wanted to create, for the most part, short videos, so that they're under 180 seconds, so they qualify for YouTube's threshold of a short. And I wanted to create those using my avatar and my voice. And I did those in HeyGen manually. I wanted to automate that process from researching specific topics that I wanted to use, which I reviewed, and I'm going to keep coming back to that. I think it's very important to get your prompts right in the beginning and to QA at the back end, and let the tools we use do the work in the middle. So I made sure that I refined my prompts appropriately, and I made sure that I QA'd at the end. And in fact, I use in my avatars, I say that I have been responsible for the generation of the content, and I take responsibility for it, and it's been reviewed by me, and I read the comments and everything else, which is all truthful. I know you had to go down, or you were thinking of going down some of a similar path with OpenClaw, and I thought, well, I'm going to try to build this all in Cowork. So I have my Cowork account, and I had the benefit of some of your prompting that saved me days, if not weeks, of interest. And I used those, and I did it once, and I was integrating Cowork via an API with HeyGen for the videos, and then Cowork with Post Everywhere, an API for distributing to my social media platforms. And I was using Cowork to do the research for draft scripts before I reviewed them. So I had script creations that were timely and current. I had a prompt to tell HeyGen to create the videos with a balance between my face being just the talking head for the duration, interspersed with B-rolls. And then at the end, posting to my social media throughout the day, a handful of social media, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. What am I missing? Facebook. And I think that was about it. I had 6. And it did that sort of well once. And when I went back to do it after a couple of days away, either I, in my advanced memory loss, didn't do the process quite as correct. I came back with stuff that was crap. And I had been told that it was possible to integrate. Well, I came back and I ended up with, as you would have experienced, API bills, particularly an API bill from HeyGen saying, if you're going to use this API, it's not out of your general subscription model. And I ran out of those, and I had to spend $50. That was USD, which was about $75 AUD, to get more API credits to create my videos. And then the B-rolls weren't where I wanted, and I tried to do different things. And Wayne, I can tell you it was frustrating, and it was a WTF that wasn't Wisdom Technology and Friends. The integration with Post Everywhere API, though, has worked well with Cowork, and I got to say that's okay. It was just and the script generation was okay. It was better than okay, as we've talked about. It was great, better than OpenAI. But geez, trying to have an API with HeyGen to get the videos at the right lengths, and sometimes the prompting information I gave it actually ended up in the video, and I'm like, wait a minute, that should have read that as a prompt, not a part of the script. So my experience has been a challenge with that, and I don't have the answer for that. I'm going to continue to play with different platforms and tools to see if I can keep that as an automated process, or as you've suggested, for $50 a day in API fees, I can get an offshore in the Philippines to do that work for me.
Yeah, I've been trying to do an identical process. And as a marketing strategy, I think shorts work very well to direct people to long-form content, because I like long-form content. And I'm not sure if I should be holding up a newspaper from Manila with today's date on it or something as proof of life, but I promise we're not avatars right now. We're both here live. I'm in fact sucking on a fisherman's friend lozenge at present, which I should have finished before I came back into focus on the camera. Sorry about that, folks. I've experienced all of the same stuff Monty's experienced, but with minor variations on it. You know, AI is forgetting stuff, not knowing what we did yesterday, memory failures. I've got to spit this out. They're getting better though, and the cost is about how you manage them. I think I've been pleasantly surprised at DeepSeek for its virtually nothing. It does a pretty good job. I agree with Monty that the language and tone that the different models use, while you can influence by the prompts you put into them, their choice of words and their language tend to be a bit different depending on what personality you give them and how friendly they are. And I think you've got to do some experimenting with it. Would I recommend OpenClaw? Yes, I would. You know, I'm using a second-hand Mac Mini to run mine on. For those of you who are concerned about security with OpenClaw, I started out that way. I had the AI completely isolated from my working computers. I've been doing it for a month, which I know is not a terribly long time, but over the month, I've become more and more confident with the way the security is managed. And so now my AI, my OpenClaw, and my Hermes have access to my email. They have access to my calendar. They have access to a whole range of things. And one of the stories I want to tell, if I may, is about my CRM. Now, I'm a big believer in CRM because I'm a compliance guy, all right? Like that's what I do. And CRMs are critical to that. But I've found the same problem virtually in every company I've ever been a manager with in the last 20 years. Trying to get admin staff and sales staff to use them. Seriously, it would be easier to do, you know, I can't think of a bad enough example. It's like pulling teeth. It's very difficult. There are a million reasons why people don't have time to do it. The sales staff are saying, well, do you want me to spend time mucking around with stupid admin, or do you want me to sell something for you? And, you know, it's just a constant battle. So, and recently we've been using Insightly for our small business. We've used it for the last 2 years. We have Insightly Marketing and Insightly CRM. And between the two of them, they were costing me $1,000 Australian a month.
Yep.
And for my little business, that's a fairly hefty expense. And so I've hummed and hawed about replacing that with Filipino staff to do it manually or do it on spreadsheets or whatever. At the end of the day, I said to my AI, gave it an API to connect to Insightly and said, go connect to our CRM and extract our data, which I could have done manually as a series of CSVs, but it did it all for it. And I said, now put it into a database on one of our online servers, because everyone who's got a website hosted, it has a database on it already. So put it on there. And so all that information's in there. And then I said to the AI, now we need to build some sort of front end for this so that staff can put things in and extract things and whatever. And Jake, my AI, said to me, I am your front end. And I said, explain. He said, okay. If you want people to put business cards from sales meetings in here, they just go to WhatsApp, which is the communication protocol we use for OpenClaw. They take a photo of the business card and they send it to me. I said, do they have to put any information with it or any context? He said, nope. They need to send it to me. I will guess what it is. I'll put it in the database, and I will then ask them questions that I need to make the database record complete. Is this a prospect? Is this a contact? Is this a sale? What's the product? Are you the salesperson? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what it started doing. And you know what? 100% of the salespeople do it 100% of the time. And it might just be novelty, but I thought, wow, this is pretty good. So how do you get information out? You just say to it, you send a WhatsApp message. What follow-ups do I need to do this week for contacts and prospects and clients, and what commitments have I made to them at the last call, and what are their names and phone numbers and office addresses. And within 60 seconds, you'll have back a big long, or maybe it's very short, depends what sort of salesperson you are. You'll end up with a reply in your WhatsApp that has all that information in there for you. You want to know, anything else you want to ask. You just asked it. You don't need to know any programming language. You don't need to know what it's called. You just asked it in plain English and you'll get a reply. So then, I'm not a person who loves accounting, Monty. In fact, I loathe.
Before you go to accounting, can I come back to the accounting? I want to, what you've just talked about with the CRM, I want to talk about Preserver for a second and interrupt with a sales message here. I have my Preserver app, which you're aware of. You can get it in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and it's free. There's no registration. It's 100% free. But it does exactly what you did relative to CRM. And yes, you can take a picture of a business card from your phone, and send it to your Jake or your system, and it will extract that information. The nice part about Preserver is that it does a lot of things in one screen. So it allows you to collect voice messages, voice to text messages, pictures, and videos. So you can literally in that meeting take pictures of stuff that's on the wall from PowerPoint slides or whatever you like. And then you can put that onto your Google Drive, which OpenClaw will have access to, and my Cowork has access to for mine. But it does one extra little thing, is that it date and time stamps it with GPS coordinates and a map. So there's proof of an incident that the person actually had that CRM meeting, collected that business card, not from a bar, but from visiting them in an office, and it can be read into your OpenClaw just to add extra dimension to what you just discussed.
And you didn't, the feature that I like most about Preserver, because we use that as well when we're doing verification and vetting of BPOs, because it comes back with a photo that's geotagged. I say to the BPO, take a photo of your generator, and then I collect it from their Google directory, so I can tell if it's been edited or altered, but I also know where and when it was taken.
Yes.
Therefore, I can sign off on that and say, yep, this is really the generator that they have at that location. And
yes.
Not that anyone would ever cheat in an audit, I know, but it just gives me a little bit extra comfort when I sign those verification vetting certificates.
I agree 100%. So like I said, that was a sales pitch, but there's no money in it, so I don't worry about that. So now we go back to your accounting experience. Let's go.
We can talk about accounting. Look, I don't love accounting. That's the moral of my story. But I gave the AI an API link into my accounting system, which is Xero, because I'm only a small business and I love Xero. It's the first accounting system I've ever used that is straightforward and friendly. But even though it's straightforward and friendly, I still don't love it. But now I can say to my AI, I can ask a question in plain language to it. You know, what outstanding invoices do I need to follow up this week? What even questions like, how has the bookkeeper been going with keeping up to date with the reconciling bank accounts? And it accesses Xero. It can't write to it; it can only read it. But it comes back, and I can give it permission to write to it, I believe. But I'm not that trusting of either the bookkeeper or the AI. So it comes back and it gives me plain English answers, and you know that's invaluable to me, because I can say things like, if I'm worried about the new bookkeeper, what should I be checking? And it'll tell me what I should be checking on. And then I say, okay, check on those and tell me how it looks. And it will give me an opinion as to how it looks. And so for someone who doesn't love it and is not very good at it, that's just been a very useful thing. And we built from that a expense tracker, because normally people do their expenses, right? Because it's their money and they do that. But I often don't do mine because it's all coming out of one bucket at the end, and what the hell, and then the accountants get upset with me that I haven't broken it all up. So using the same strategy that we used to say, send me a photo, I simply said to it, create an expense tracker spreadsheet and populate it from the photos that I send you and the questions you asked. So in no time at all, it had gone onto the accounting system, found out the chart of account stuff and what terminology was used and all the rest of it, created a spreadsheet. I'm having breakfast. We're away on a business trip. I'm having breakfast with my partner at a cafe the other day. The bill comes. I pay the bill. I put down the receipt. I push the photo button and I send it. And then
am I correct in saying that at one instance when you did that, not only did you send a copy of the receipt, the AI came back and said, well, how did you pay for this? And so you took a picture of your credit card and it said, so it's going to be in that account in and zero your credit card account versus your.
Well, I got wary about sending photos of my credit card. So what I do now is put the credit card receipt down next to the receipt from the cafe, next to the invoice from the cafe, and I just send all of those, and it's able to figure out from that it was my credit card. I paid for it with my personal card. So yeah, but again, that then makes its way as a they've got a name for it, but basically a draft entry into the accounting system.
Right.
And that draft entry has to be approved by the bookkeeper then, and then it becomes a permanent entry. But yeah, I love it. And now I'm doing the same thing with my travel, because I travel from country to country and I have to be aware of visas and when they're up and when they're not, and how long I've been in a country or whatever. I just slap where we book the flights online, the boarding pass when I get one, whether it's electronic or in my hand, and the visa stamp when I get it, or the visa bit of paper or whatever they give me at the airport, photos of all of those, and the AI keeps track of it all and says to me, because you have no plans to travel before this date, then you need to go and renew your visa by this date, because it will take 10 days to renew. And all of that happens, and it just gets put into my diary. Go to the visa agent now. Boom, 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 boom.
So let's just talk about the business cases you've used it for. You've used it for your CRM. You've used it for your accounting. You've used it for your pay stuff, your receipt stuff, for incidentals or whatever. Now add in, because I happen to know, I think you're also having it do some email review for you and prioritizing and filtering of your email as well. So keep talking. I waited till you put a fisherman's friends in so I could do that.
I'm going to crunch up my fisherman's friends now and swallow it. So the big decision was, do I give AI access to my Google workspace? And after a month, I decided I would. And, you know, I know some of you are going to say, oh my God, that's stupid. Well, if it's stupid and I get burnt, I get burnt. But it does make the AI a lot more useful. As Monty mentioned, one of the things it does is looks at the way I have managed my email is I get like 150 or 200 emails every day. And the reason I get so many is I ran this channel as a radio station for 10 years. I've worked in other big companies and BPOs. So I get lots of, it's spam, but it's spam I've asked for. It's spam that I want. I want to see what's there. And so I've always just ticked the boxes in Google for the ones I don't want to read, and then mark them as read. I never delete any email. So if I want to search it and if I want to find stuff, I can go back and do that forever. And then I look at the ones that are left in the unread category for me to read. Now that bit of work is done for me by the AI automatically. It doesn't delete anything, but it marks them as read. If it decides their stuff that I don't want to read, if they think it's spam and if they think it's coming regularly, it will bring me up a list and ask me, and then they get marked as spam, and then I don't see them anymore. But the others all go into it. I don't use a whole lot of subfolders. I know that's the Google approved way of doing it. I just find I can never find anything when it's in subfolders. It's like, where the hell did I put that? So I only have two, read and unread, and spam, of course, disappears, but read and unread, and then I use Google search facility to do that. I have also given the AI its own email address now. It only receives email from people who have an email address in my domain, so it's only my staff who can send email to it. And we're in the process of trying to get that to work with Google Chat, the messaging part of Google's email, so that it will create conversations or keep a record of conversations in subject channels so that we can search for that. Because one of the problems with AI, whichever one you're using, is it's on your screen now, but if you come back in 2 hours and say, remember that message you sent me about blah, some of them will and some of them won't. And so
Yeah.
because
I guess in the tech world, they call that memory, whether it has memory of your conversation, and some will keep that and store that.
And none of them have AI that I believe to be reliable and long term. And I'm talking 5 years.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff I'm paying for AI to do is research, and I publish. And if someone comes back and says, "Oh, you lied to me, you told me this and it wasn't true," I need to be able to find where I researched that, what the sources were, and all that sort of stuff. So that's why we're doing that. But yeah, that's that, getting it on there. But little bit by little bit, access to my calendar, making appointments for me, writing draft emails. I don't let it write real emails, but it writes draft emails for me.
Yep.
So little by little, yeah, it's doing more and more.
The nice thing about that is I actually don't have a Google Workspace account because I didn't need to pay for it, but I do have a Google Drive.
Yes.
And my Cowork has access to my Google Drive, so it can index it and read it and do all of that. But it can also write to it. I allow it to write to it. When I create these videos, I put them in the Google Drive, and then it can do that and give them access to post everywhere, so it can do that as well. And it will upload and download, so that's not a problem. And then, of course, you have Google Calendar, which is nice as well. But more importantly, what you've alluded to is if you prompt correctly, you can have it identify and send to you things for review.
Yes.
So if you've used a script to create a video, you can say, that's great, blah, blah, blah. You've got my B-rolls. Don't publish that video to post everywhere until I have, you probably, in my case, I approve the script first. And then after I see the actual video, just to see if, because sometimes I forget things, I watch it and then I approve the video, then it goes for distribution. Same with emails. Yes, write a reply to this email. Don't send it until I've reviewed the reply. So you can ask it to always have the human QA things that the AI creates.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think I've done that's interesting, because I have some AIs running on a Mac Mini and some running on my Windows desktop and some running on a browser, I have managed to convince them all to share one set of memory files. So they are learning. When one learns something, all of them have learned it, and that's been a really useful thing. And while that memory is not always perfect, they do forget things. It's been pretty useful, and people who are better at technology than I am can explain the wheres and wherefores of that. But when we talk about an AI having memory, we're only talking about a set of markdown files, so plain text files that it's got on a drive somewhere, and every time it starts up again, it reads those files again, and it writes those files itself. But it doesn't write great verbatim scripts. It writes a summary. So if its summary writing is not good, then it feels like it's forgotten it. But it's been pretty interesting. Now,
I know we're running out of time, or we're talking a long time today. We'll do another one next week. Just as an aside, when you talked about a learning knowledge base where you want to control stuff, Google does have a product called Google Notebook LM. And I've played with that by loading in different documents, a lot of documents that I've created because I want it to learn my approach and my vocabulary and my slant and my biases, so that when it writes things, it writes them as if I would do. So my review QA is quicker.
Yeah, I have used it, but not extensively. I used it and thought, nah, I don't see this as adding much to my repertoire of AI supplementation. So I haven't gone there, but maybe that's just because I haven't looked deep enough.
Yep.
So as you said, Monty, we're running out of time, and because we're not sponsored, I guess it doesn't matter how long or how short we go. But and being not sponsored, folks, something that you can do for us, which we would appreciate. We'd appreciate it if you could click the things on whatever channel you're watching us on. Click the things that tell us you appreciate us, whether it's a heart, whether it's a subscription, whether it's the bell, whether it's the like, or whatever it happens to be.
Or follow, yeah, all of the subscribe, yeah.
Comment, ask us questions, because all of these things help us with the algorithm. They get us found by more people. We don't spend money advertising this. This is
Labor of love.
well, I was going to say a vanity project, but whatever it is, it's just us trying to share some wisdom, technology, and friendship that we've had for a long time. And yes, if lots of people watch it on YouTube, we do get some money from YouTube for being nice, but we're not talking about having tens of millions of followers. It'll tell you how many followers we've got if you go and look at it. It's certainly not in the thousands. But we do think that, well, we hope that something that we've got to say will help you a little bit. We're also really quite happy to talk to you directly. So
Absolutely.
if you want to catch up with us, by all means, reach out to us by whatever means you can. Our email addresses and our company names are in the program notes and wherever. So we try not to hide anything. Leave a message just in whatever channel you're watching us on, and we'll look at it. Of course, our vanity makes us do that, and we'll reply. So that's about all I did. All I've got to say: like, follow, do all that stuff. And we try and do these on Tuesday and put them out Tuesday afternoon. These are done live to tape. There's no editing and there's no fixing things. So if you're wondering why it looks like we were just talking live to a camera, well, we were. And they're recorded on Google Meet, by the way. So if you want to do your own, we're happy to tell you how we did it. My name is Wayne Buckler, and Monty Hipsch will now say good night.
Good night from Monty Hipsch and Wayne Buckler.